Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Phumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week our Expo is asking us about your views on Starlink not coming to South Africa. Reports say they'll be all over Southern Africa, but not here. They provide fast internet. Results of that poll are coming up later in the program. Here's what's coming up in this particular episode. We have details on how some private schools are introducing new technologies and how that could possibly widen the digital divide. We look into TUT's 4IR Future of Work conversation. And in our conversation, we are on cloud. Work is being changed by technology, and this is something we've been grappling with for a couple of years now. These conversations need to happen in academic spaces as well, as universities are the ones who are training people who are going to eventually get into the workplace. Let's go to the Tshwane University of Technology's Future of Work Symposium.
The Tshwane University of Technology initiated the Institute for the Future of Work in 2021. The aim was to connect academia, government and industry to find solutions for the rapidly evolving world of work. This year, the event was held at the Sunbed Arena in Pretoria. It was attended by captains of industry, academic leaders, Fourth Industrial Revolution specialists, policymakers, government officials, students, and civil society.
And one of the things we have decided is that we are no longer going to write curricula in some air-conditioned rooms by ourselves as academics somewhere in the ivory tower. Curricula must now be co-written between universities and industry. Industry players must come to the table and help us shape the curriculum of the 21st century. But much more importantly, curricula must now be informed by the skills of the 21st century, not the 20th century.
The dialogue went deep into the complexities and opportunities presented by the Fourth Industrial Revolution and finding solutions to address the South African skills dilemma in the technology industry.
Therefore, as the Institute, our role is to make sure that we understand the technological trends and also the impact that those trends have on the future of work, and to work in partnership with the industry and government to make sure, one, we avert job losses, two, to make sure that we, as I said, give our students the fighting chance in the labor market.
The Future of Work 4IR Dialogue is a platform where critical questions concerning the changing dynamics of economies, technologies, and industries are raised and collaboratively explored.
If you consider that we are evolving towards a place where we're going to be producing electric vehicles, and we're producing vehicles that do not have almost every component that we used to. So on an average drivetrain, what drives and what keeps the car moving forward, we're moving from a type of vehicle that had 20,000 components to one that has only 2,000. So we're moving technologies from a car that's driven by a radiator, by top, by engine, by transmission, gearboxes, exhaust systems and fuel systems to one that's going to be driven like a computer. That means that we are changing the profile of the product and therefore the profile of people that will be able to influence how we make cars. And so skills of the future then becomes very relevant for the industry to form part of the dialogue.
The vision for the dialogue is to steer South Africa towards a work-ready future. Obakeng Hlajwayo from the Center of the Fourth Industrial Revolution South Africa says people don't need to fear technology and artificial intelligence.
It's human nature for us to fear change. However, even there, when we're fearing, when we adopt these technologies, we need to look at the responsible ways of doing them. Remember that when it comes to AI, then you come in, you take this technology, you adopt it without necessarily doing your proper research or know-how. You don't even know where your data is being stored, you don't even know where your information is being sent, you don't even know who's selling your information for that matter.
Hlajwayo does warn of the harm artificial intelligence imposes and that people need to be careful about information they share online.
The POPI Act again sends, or I would say that it's within the bandits of the South African, because it's a South African law. then the information that we share on the internet, it goes beyond that. So your protection is only limited within the bandwidth of your country that resides in it. But what happens with information that you share on your Facebook, information that you share on your Skype, your Twitter and everything else, who knows what is it doing about it?
TUT Vice Chancellor Professor Tinyiko Maluleke says they have no choice but to ensure that students and graduates are properly skilled and prepared for the future of work. Students in attendance shared their thoughts and excitement about the possibilities the dialogue brings.
So these dialogues just make it easy for people to understand what the future is about and how we are moving more into technology.
It is to take each of us to greater heights. There's just so much success filled in this entire event. Great success already and future success, and I think more than anything I feel ecstatic to just be filled in this space.
It's a beautiful event hosted by the university. It opens up a lot of, it gives us a lot of knowledge and opens up a lot of perspective in the direction in which the world is heading.
The dialogue investigated the changing nature of work in the 21st century. In the South African perspective, these issues included the digital divide, connectivity, access to technology, as well as the impact of automation and AI, among others.
There are private schools that are already introducing new technologies, but there is a worry that South Africa already has a digital divide, and while government schools are talking about introduction of robotics, those schools as well say they don't have all the resources that they need. But let's find out how some private schools are doing on that front.
We at Network were invited to the introduction of virtual reality and metaverse-based learning program to the school curriculum at one of South Africa's state-of-the-art private schools, Redham House, Helderfontein in the north of Johannesburg. We experienced some of the immersive and interactive content that learners will have access to, which will allow them to explore subjects in ways previously unattainable.
This is such an exciting experience. I don't think it does any justice talking about it. I think we need to experience it to see. But it's totally immersive. I mean, Graham was talking about when he was in school, we certainly didn't have initiatives like this. But we certainly are so excited to be able to take our kids and immerse them into experiences that would otherwise be unreachable. So I think it's a hugely innovative technology for us, and I think it's going to take learning to a totally new level.
One thing I've learned with Oculus is that you can play in-game sports, and what I love about this is that you feel like you're actually in the game, like you feel like you're that actual player.
So VR can actually, you can play science inside the VR, and all the chemicals will be there. If you add too much, there might be an explosion in the VR. Also, you can learn about space. It's really interesting. It's a very real experience.
Though a positive step aimed at enhancing the quality of education in South Africa, we cannot turn a blind eye on the country's pronounced digital divide, especially in the education sector.
I mean, it's a good thing that they're actually introducing it to their learners because we shouldn't stifle progress, So, as you can see, these private schools in South Africa, they're at par with some of the best schools across the world, actually. Like, you can compare to some of the Ivy League high schools in America, So that's a good thing, but the only problem is that the technology is not trickling down to the bottom of the pyramid learner, if I can say, the one that doesn't go to a fancy school, doesn't have the money and the resources to be able to get the equipment to do VR. So that's going to create a big gap, and that's going to exacerbate the inequality that already exists. But otherwise, we shouldn't stifle, but we should say, okay, these are the best practices. These guys are leading the way. So how can we take that same technology or the same thinking and make it across the whole society?
Initiatives like Illumiverse are fostering 4IR skills in learners attending township schools by fusing gaming and academia.
What we have actually done is to create a demo for the library. So that is basically where the VR comes in. So we've currently creating a library where you can actually interact with the library via virtual reality. So picture what you do in a library, but just on your phone or on your VR headset. So that is basically what we are building now. And we have recently did the Gamers Tour in Soweto, where the learners were able to engage with the virtual reality for them to actually understand, how it works. Because I mean, a lot of kids and adults as well have never experienced VR. So our final aim is to actually be a part of the curriculum. Not just because at the moment it would be like an after-school initiative, a holiday initiative, and that's just, so much time. So eventually we would like to form a part of the curriculum where we are saying that there is an actual virtual reality classroom. There is an actual robotics classroom in primaries. Specifically, this is where we're working with in primaries and in ECDs, so that even if maybe, say for instance, they don't get it in high school or so forth, but it's always good to start at the foundation where they're still young and they are able to grasp certain things.
As initiatives such as these unfold, South Africa stands at the threshold of a transformative period in education where innovation and equity go hand in hand, offering hope for a more inclusive and prosperous future.
The whole of October has been Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Let's remind ourselves about some of the issues that we need to understand when it comes to cybersecurity and how we can actually protect ourselves.
So a cyber hack can happen if hackers get access to a private network infrastructure of any company. It can be an organization. It can also be at individual level, where they're able to, using some online resources, be able to gain access to whether it is your internal systems. It can be a computer, it can be servers if it's a company, or if it's a government, they can even go as far as their mainframe, which will be hosting very big sizes of and amounts of data.
I think we find, time after time, in many of the discussions we have with clients, that the concept of cybersecurity risk is generally managed and considered to be an IT risk, rather than dealing with it as a business risk, creating the right enabling structures to be able to appropriately manage it. However, what is important is that there have been many organizations that have victims of cyber attacks in the past, but have not made the headlines. Right? So when dealing with the why is this prevalent? There are many technical discussions that we can go into in discussing why is this prevalent, why is this happening in South Africa. However, I would ultimately really want to sum it up to one root cause, if you may, right? And that one root cause that I really want to elaborate on and focus on is really the overall lack of appreciation by organizations and how to appropriately manage cybersecurity risks in these organizations.
For people to actually use the platform and having a high security comes with a lot of cost. Innovation in tech comes with a lot of cost. Other countries are more advanced. They understand the convenience of tech, hence why they want to invest in Africa, because Africa is the future.
I think it is imperative for cybersecurity to be owned and driven by the top. Right? Leadership needs to set the tone at the top in creating an environment that enables the culture of cybersecurity discipline. I think to emphasize that point as well, I think there's the notion that people will always remain and will for a very long time be the weakest link in any cybersecurity defense strategy. And therefore the only way you deal with that is with awareness and training and building a culture of cyber discipline within the organization.
The very first and most basic way is to have very strong passwords. We all know that most systems can be accessed through passwords. So, you don't want to be having a system that is hosting very sensitive data to be having the simplest of passwords that can be easily guessed. Most passwords these days should be a combination of letters, caps letters, special characters, and numbers, because then the metrics behind trying to crack or guess that kind of a password becomes very complicated, which makes it difficult for hackers to be able to access your systems. Then from there, you have to have a very powerful firewall that can be able to sense external intrusions. It can be able to sense that there's someone who is consistently trying to gain access into our private systems. And over and above that, you also can employ, depending on the size of your company and the budget that you have, we do have intrusion detecting systems. So that's all they do. And these are just dedicated servers that are monitoring your system, and they can be able to sense how many other external systems are actually trying to access your internal systems or in your internal infrastructure.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. After the break, we chat about how cloud can assist in a lot of what we do, as these conversations will be taking place in a conference that's going to be happening in the Eastern Cape. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News network at sabc.co.za. On email, welcome back. Now, tech giants that include Amazon and Microsoft are constantly developing their cloud offerings. Even though the cloud market is not yet big here in Africa, it's believed that this is a market that's constantly going to grow. It's biggest here in South Africa when compared to other parts of the African continent. And small and medium-sized enterprises can also leverage on the power of cloud. To talk to us about cloud and AI is Apiwe Dafeni, who is from the annual ICT Club. Hello, and thank you very much for being a part of our network, Apiwe. Maybe if you can start by telling us what cloud actually is. What do we mean when we say cloud computing?
So digital infrastructure 2.0 as well as cloud technology actually offers, a responsive and an efficient and inclusive way of resolving the digital gap as well as service delivery issues that the country has.
If small businesses want to start using cloud, where can they start?
SMMEs can benefit holistically from cloud services because it actually assists to alleviate some of the costs that are involved in running a small business. With cloud, that means that you can operate your business on paperless. Everything is available on a cloud, so your team can work remotely. Your team can therefore be able to access various information from the business databases, everything. On that cloud, you develop your own business's portal or platform that will exist in that cloud, and then all your operations that actually happen from that cloud. So that means that even all your information is stored there. So that would definitely help SMMEs. I'll make an example here. There was a time where one of the institutions actually burned down, and it went down with a lot of documentation, with a lot of information. Now having that information stored in the cloud can actually assist in such situations whereby information is not lost. It's stored safely, and also it can be accessible anyway. We'll make an example again with the healthcare sector, whereby in particular in the Eastern Cape, which is still a very rural province, we have people who, it's far for them to travel, say for instance, to a Cape Town or Johannesburg to see a specialist on a heart issue that they potentially have. So those two doctors, whether it's this patient's doctor in the Eastern Cape, can consult with the doctor in Cape Town or Johannesburg, and the information can actually be sent through that cloud, whereby that doctor is therefore able to access that information, the patient's information, confidentiality is still being kept though, and then they can be able to consult and say, okay, listen, this is what may need to be done, etc., before a person's actually transferred to Johannesburg.
With constant cybersecurity issues, and as it still is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, is it not a danger, and how can businesses protect themselves?
It's very important that people are cognizant of what is going on in that cloud. Do not press links that you don't know where they come from. It's important to just always be vigilant. The same way when you're walking down the street, you are aware of your surroundings and you're vigilant and you're making sure that you know where your car keys are, your wallet, everything, you are aware where it is, and you wouldn't give your password or your PIN to just anybody else. It's the same thing with cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a threat, so it's important that people are aware that they shouldn't just press any link. So there's things such as phishing, whereby you'll get an email that looks legit, right? It looks legit, but it's not most of the time, so you have to look at the email addresses.
You have a summit where these things are going to be discussed. Tell us about that ICT Summit.
The ICT Summit is an annual event that happens in November at the Eastern Cape, in East London in particular. And this year, it's back for its 17th installment, where we will explore and go deep into conversation on cloud usage, as well as on digital infrastructure. We have a plethora of industry movers and shakers, industry leaders. These are people who head up organizations, who are CIOs, which is Chief Information Officers, Chief Technology Officers of the public sector, as well as private sector. So we've got executives coming in from multinational organizations that have their headquarters in South Africa, and we're all going to be sitting in a venue and discussing the challenges that the country has, and also just to have a conversation on how far are we with bridging the digital divide. We all know that the country is actually plagued with service delivery issues, and so having a conversation on cloud-based computing as well as digital infrastructure actually seeks to have the conversation in a positive manner, whereby we're looking for solutions to these problems.
All right, up here definitely from the annual ICT Summits. Thank you very much for being a part of our network. It is a SABC network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's network at sabc.co.za on email. Don't go away.
If this court allowed such an egregious flouting and flagrant flouting of accused number 2's constitutional rights in terms of section 35(5), it would not be in the interest of justice to do so, because accused number 2 would then be continuously subjected to a trial unfairly, when we know that the Constitution enjoins us to prevent such an exigency. And also, in the view of this court, that would bring the administration of justice into disrepute. Consequently, this court rules that the audio recording should not form part of these proceedings. It is inadmissible.
It's a SABC network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the tech space.
Latest US government legal action aimed at breaking big tech's dominance of the internet. The lawsuit has been expected after years of complaints that Amazon.com and other tech giants abuse their dominance of search, social media, and online retailing to become gatekeepers on the most lucrative aspects of the internet. The lawsuit, which is joined by 17 state attorneys general, follow a 4-year investigation and federal lawsuits filed against Alphabet's Google and Meta platforms Facebook. And now in the UK. Art meets artificial intelligence at a gallery in London this month with the opening of a new show by artist and AI researcher Su Guang-Chung, whose collaborations with robotic painters can sell for tens of thousands of pounds.
What that intersection means for me is, to an extent, reconciling different modes of expression. I think what I love about working with new technologies is the potential of building the tools that that suit and that help shape my own creative expression and way of navigating the work and world through creativity.
Chung now works with various kinds of robots, including those designed and built to mimic movement recognized by computer vision technology. And off to Australia we go. Teams from around the world left Darwin to race their solar-powered electric cars across Australia to the southern city of Adelaide in the 2023 Bridgestone World Solar Challenge. The event runs throughout October, with teams vying to complete the trek in the fastest time.
The event, I believe, is as relevant today, if not more so than it was in the early days. Why are we still playing with solar cars? Because the quest for efficiency never ends. And what we're doing now with our cruiser class cars, and you'll see some of these cars look quite nice sports cars. I introduced that in 2013, the cruiser class, the link between the purely experimental, ultra efficient Challenger cars to something that the general public can look at and identify with and say, I'd like to drive a car like that one day.
There are 2 categories in the event designed to showcase a variety of forward-looking EV technologies.
Elon Musk is the South African-born Canadian-American billionaire entrepreneur who's been sending his internet access all over the world through Starlink. It's been reported that his Starlink will be coming to other countries in Southern Africa, but not to South Africa. This is after there were reports that he was in conversations with ICASA for these things to happen here in South Africa too. Our X-Poll this week is asking you about your views on this. That's it. So that's all from us, from me, Spumelele Zondi, and the rest of the network team. Have a good one. Bye-bye.